the number 2 rule of the Hopefulist.
Welcome to the Hopefulist, a daily talk show hosted by veteran broadcaster Wendy McClure. Join Wendy each day as she shares her life lessons that transformed her from perpetual pessimist to the ultimate hopefulist. The perfect morning show to get you caught up on the day's top stories while sharing insights that will lead to positive transformation and bring out the hopefulist in you. For more inspiration, visit Hopefulist.com. And now, here's your host and hopefulist, Wendy McClure.
Hello and welcome to the Hopefulist. Thank you so much for joining me for your daily dose of inspiration and positivity. Starting out with the quote of the day: create a life you love instead of meekly living the one you think you're stuck with. That is from my daily You Are a Badass calendar. I love it. Christmas present. 2 days down on my intermittent fasting. I have to say the one good thing about drinking my coffee black first thing in the morning is it lasts me a really long time. I've had this cup of coffee for over 2 hours now, and there's still some left. There's still about a little less than a quarter cup in there. So I'm really stretching out this cup of coffee, which is good because I should be drinking less coffee. So I have been making myself a cup of dreamy coffee with sugar and cream when I wake up from my nap later in the day, because that is during my time frame when I am allowed to have it. The great thing about the intermittent fasting is, and don't get me wrong, I am trying to eat healthy. I've been doing pretty well. But realistically, and the way that it's intended is I don't really have to restrict what I'm eating. It's just restricting the time frame. Granted, I don't think that I'm going to lose weight by eating cheeseburgers every day, so I'm not doing that. But when the opportunity comes along to maybe have a cheeseburger or something, I'm going to allow myself that because I'm still following the rules. I'm still keeping with the decision that I made to only eat between the hours of 9 and 5. And like I said, it's only 2 days down. But my goal is to eventually squeeze it down to 6 hours. So I haven't decided yet if I want to trim the hours off the morning or the evening, or, one off of each end, because I get up at 4. So waiting until 9 o'clock to eat breakfast is a really long time for me. And, on the other end of the spectrum, I typically eat dinner at 5 o'clock anyway. Now I've been eating at about 4:30 so that I'm done before the 5 o'clock hour rolls around. And then I don't really have that much time before I go to bed, because I typically go to bed at 8:30, 9:30. So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. But so far, so good. And I've got my fingers crossed. And here's the thing. And this is a little bit what I'm going to get to about today in the podcast, in the blog post, is, you just have to decide. It's a decision that you make. Remember last year when I went all of January without any carbs, sweets, or alcohol? I just made the decision that I was going to do that, and I did not allow myself to be talked out of it by anybody or myself. We are the best at talking ourselves out of things. We have to get so great at keeping ourselves on track. Once you make a decision and you truly believe that you can do it, that is the hard part, then nothing will stop you. Nothing will stop you. Let's go back to the juice cleanse that I did in the fall. That did not take. Why? Because I didn't truly believe that I could do it. I made it through a complete day, and then I got until about 5 o'clock the following day. And then I had a lean cuisine. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I wasn't committed to it. I am committed to the intermittent fasting, just as I was committed to not eating carbs, sweets, or drinking alcohol last January. And as I mentioned, the reason that I'm switching it up and doing the intermittent fasting is because I don't want to go without carbs now. I really like my carbs. Those damn hipsters and their avocado toast got me hooked on it, and now I don't want to give it up. I just stare at the clock waiting for 9 o'clock so I can make my avocado toast. Damn millennials, tell ya. So I hope that whatever plan you are following, you are having much success as well. But remember, you are the only one that can talk yourself out of it, and you are the only one that can keep yourself on track. Make it a non-negotiable. You have decided that this is what you are going to do, and follow through. But that's when a realistic plan comes into place as well, which is something else I'm going to get to today. Since we're all likely, maybe not trying to lose weight, but likely trying to be more healthy, be on a better path when it comes to our health, fitness, food intake, what have you, I was wondering, when trying to lose weight, how often do you get on the scale? Now, I get on the scale every day. I know it's terrible. I can't seem to stop. There was a time that I didn't have a scale, and it made me crazy. It made me absolutely crazy. So I went out and got a scale. I used to just weigh myself at the gym. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if they have a scale at the gym I go to now, which I don't really go to because of the whole COVID thing. But I don't recall seeing a scale at the gym. Now that I'm thinking about it, I would assume they have one somewhere, but not in the locker room where I used to have access to it on the regular. So I wanted to hear from you. When do you and how often do you get on the scale, especially when trying to lose weight? Susie says never. Oh, I could never do that. Jennifer says, I agree with not often and based on how I feel and how my clothes fit. Kathy also says never. Until my clothes are loose, then I do it out of curiosity. Craig says twice, once to say, holy cow, I need to lose weight, and the second time to make me say, forget it. Larry says, not often. It's stressful enough without going on the scale. The added pressure, I just don't need it. Mary Ellen says never. I'm surprised all these people. She says, I use the scale to weigh my luggage before a trip. I tell by my clothes. Kim says, I do not own a scale, but work in a doctor's office, and I go on almost every day, and yes, I know it is bad. Cheryl says once a week. Lori says, I never get on the scale. I can tell when I lose weight by how my clothes fit. Lisa says, every day I become obsessed. Yeah, that's me too, Lisa. Kim says, never, even at the doctor's, I look away. Marcy says, every 2 weeks, first thing in the morning. Well, it's always first thing in the morning. It's got to be first thing in the morning, right? After the initial going of the bathroom. Cassandra says, I've never owned a scale. Michelle says, once a week. Lori, every morning to keep myself in check. Yeah, that's how I feel too. For the most part, it's to keep myself in alignment with my goals. Sometimes, though, when you feel like you're being really good, and you're like at this plateau and nothing seems to work, that's when it becomes a little detrimental. Deborah says way too often, like every day. Ashley says every morning. John says stay off the scale. Nancy says once a week maybe. And Val says once a week. I lost 2.6 pounds last week. Well, good for you, Val. That is awesome, especially the week between Christmas and New Year's. God bless you. How'd you do that? I didn't even think about it. I put your 2.6 pounds on plus more, I'm sure. Oh, it was a yummy week. But, this has been pretty good, too. Like I said yesterday, when you're eating better and you're working out and you're doing things that are good for your body, you feel better. not just about yourself, but in your own skin. Your body feels better. You probably feel a little more energy. You don't feel as sluggish and bogged down. Marcy had posted an article on the group page about loving your body. And it really hits home for those of us that are trying to lose some weight right now. We've all grown up. Basically, we were taught to hate our bodies unless it was a certain ideal. And you know what? One of the things that struck me in this article is, we get and we see celebration around the loss of weight. We see, even if it's not for ourselves, that when people lose weight, they get all kinds of accolades. Oh my gosh, great job. You look amazing, this, that, and the other thing. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but it might be sending a bad message, which is some of the reasons why we may not like ourselves and our body as much as we should. So if you get a chance, it was posted last night in the group page. So go check that out. On to the topic of the day, the number 2 rule of the Hopefulist. Yeah, it's, what's the number 1 rule? Do you remember the number 1 rule? That's right. Don't ever call yourself bad names. That is the number 1 rule of the Hopefulist. So the second rule is stop breaking promises to yourself. And I say stop because I know you're doing it. I know I'm doing it. We are all doing it. We're all telling ourselves that we're going to be doing things, and then we just don't do them. Some of us do it once in a while. Some of us do it on a regular basis, and we need to stop. It is one of the main reasons we fail to achieve our goals. I read a story once about a woman who had decided she wasn't going to break promises to herself anymore. She had on her to-do list one day a half-hour workout on her elliptical trainer, but she ended up staying at a dinner with her friends much later than planned. So there she was at 11 p.m. doing her workout. Wow, right? Admittedly, I likely would not have done it at that point, but she made a promise to herself and she refused to break it. That's commitment. That's dedication. That's discipline. Why are we so likely to keep promises to everyone else in our lives, but we brush ourselves off so easily? Why do we think we don't have to keep our word to ourselves? It likely goes back to something in our childhood, the model we had for ourselves, or the sense of worth we had at the time. But when you know better, you do better, right? We know that we are worth it. We know that we can do anything we put our minds to. We know that we are badass. Now, we just have to believe it. In order to transition to the type of person who doesn't break promises to herself is to ease into it and start slowly. Do you have to-do lists for the day? Don't put anything on it that you don't think that you may not get done. I have a bad habit of writing down all these things, and I'm happy if I get to most of them. No, that is not the right way. Bad Wendy. Don't write it down unless you know. No. Talking like a teenager now. You know you can get it done. Why? Because the more you blow off your own list, the more you don't believe in your ability to get things done. You end up making a list of things that is a maybe list. That is why we don't believe ourselves when we try to take on a new habit or reach for a new goal. Get really clear with yourself. Be realistic and don't take on too much. What are the things that absolutely have to get done today? Write them down. What are the other things you would like to get done? Only write it down if you are absolutely sure you can get it done. Once you start crossing everything off your list every day, you will realize that you can do what you say. And that will give you confidence to keep striving for more. And here's a little secret. You can do more than is on your list. That is called bonus territory. And how great will you feel when you are doing even more than you require of yourself? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's work on just getting everything done first. It's trial and error right now, so don't be too hard on yourself. If you are lessening the amount on your list and still not getting it all done, then you are still putting too much on it. I know what you're saying, but I need to get all this done. But you already aren't. So figure out a way to get things done when they have to be, but not so that you set yourself up to fail. We tend to require so much of ourselves, too much, and then bash ourselves for not being able to do it. Read your typical to-do list. Is there something you would expect that your kids would be able to follow or your best friend? If not, then your list is too long. Be patient. Take on a little at a time. Once you realize you can keep your word to yourself, you become unstoppable. And that is an amazing feeling. I know you can do this. Start slow. Don't take on too much. See how much you can actually do before piling more on. And treat yourself with grace while learning this new process. It won't happen overnight, but be consistent and strict. It will all come together. And soon you will realize if you say you will get it done, you know you will. Oh, happy hump day. Scale back on that to-do list. Remember to write down only what you can get to. Now go on out there and be badass today. I'm always here cheering you on.
Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist, hosted by Wendy McClure. For more inspiration, please visit Hopefulist.com. Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow on The Hopefulist.
Soon you will be a person that says, I never, ever break promises to myself.